It's about being yourself. It's about not falling into any molds. Do it for the love of it and give your everything to what you believe and just be yourself.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hernandez, and this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. Our guest today is a gear geek, a husband, a father, a soon-to-be grandfather. He loves traveling the world, and he loves staying in tune with nature. Now, I know this may seem pretty average for a lot of you listening out there, but he is definitely not your average Joe, as he is also the guitarist of 6-time Grammy-nominated industrial legends Ministry, where he's currently making waves with his new series, Riff of the Week. I know there's a lot more to say, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, and welcome to the show, Cesar Soto.
Awesome.
How's it going, Cesar?
Everything's good. How are you? Thank you guys for having me, and I really appreciate it. So awesome.
Well, cool. Well, let's start from the top. I obviously have known you from before. We are from the same awesome hometown of El Paso, Texas. Shout out.
Of course.
Shout out.
Yeah. To all the
let's start-
915ers.
915ers. I'm still a 915er, actually.
Yeah, I know. I noticed. Awesome.
I can't lose it.
Yeah.
So let's start from the top. Tell us about yourself, how you got started. What was the defining moment you decided you were ready to take on music as a career?
I must have been probably about 5 years old. Luckily, I'm the youngest of 5. So I had 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters. Everybody had different tastes in music. But my oldest brother, actually my 2 older brothers, who I would tend to gravitate to, my oldest brother had this awesome record collection. So when he would take off, me and my other brother, Jay, would actually raid his record collection. We'd be like super careful not to scratch anything whatsoever. So my brother, he played a little bit of guitar, right? So not a lot, but just a little bit. He started like a basement band. We lived in central El Paso, so we had basements there. So his room was in the basement. So he had a couple of people over. And I remember the first time he had people over, he had some dude playing keyboard. He had some dude playing drums, and he was playing guitar. And I went downstairs with a broomstick. I was probably about 5 years old, and I was like standing in the room with a broomstick, like pretending I was playing. And just from there, I just started listening to all the record collection he had. And me and my next older brother, I just mentioned, Jay, we had like an imaginary band where I was a guitar player and he was a drummer, and we'd draw all these pictures of us jamming. And mostly him, he was the artist and stuff. So that's really how I got started, man, is just listening to a variety of different genres of rock, 70s, a lot of 80s stuff. And that led into like the late 90s, where I was old enough, according to my mom, where I was old enough to go to shows. And my oldest brother, Mario, that I mentioned, the dude that had all the records, he ended up taking me to my first concert at the what's now the Don Haskins Center. It was actually it was actually called the Special Event Center back then. And it was Metallica on the And Justice for All tour. And it was so killer because it was such a special moment, my first concert. I was with both of my brothers, and I still remember we're center stage, 5th row. And that was like, I think that for me was the moment where I knew that, hey, wow, I want to be like those guys. Yeah.
So when did you really start hammering down on guitar and making that, your priority?
So my brother Mario, he had this classical guitar that he kept in the closet. It was always in the closet, like in this top shelf in the closet. And I asked him about it one day, and he's like, well, do you want it? So he pretty much taught me how to tune the guitar. So he taught me how to tune the guitar with on every string, 5th fret and 4th fret on what is it, the G string? I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's a G.
So he taught me how to tune the guitar, gave me the guitar, and I kind of just sat and listened to those same records. Around that time, I was probably about maybe between 8 and 10. I'd like to say I got more into it when I was around 10 years old. There were just a ton of gang problems in our area in central El Paso. So there's a lot of drive-by shootings and, friends. I have a couple of friends that actually got shot. And so it was dangerous. It was just a dangerous time. And I specifically remember all my friends talking about like, all right, we're going to the mall this weekend. We're going to meet at the mall. We're going to a movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, awesome. I'll ask my mom. And I would ask my mom and she was like, nope, you're not going, because she was afraid, she was afraid. So I remember losing my patience and I was like, man, it's kind of like now, but I'm more chill now because we've been pretty much locked down for the past, 3 months or whatever. But going back to that, she just didn't want me to get hurt, any of us to get hurt. She definitely didn't want any of us to get killed or put ourselves in any bad situation. So I had no other choice, but I had that guitar. So I taught myself how to play guitar out of boredom and out of just really, there was nothing else to do. You know what I mean? It wasn't an age of computers, not an age of cell phones. This is where I start feeling old. So it was just landline phones and that's it. You know what I mean? So that's how I learned how to play. It was just being locked up for one summer because my parents feared that something bad was going to happen because the area was really, really bad. So it really upset me at the time because my friends on Mondays, we'd get back to school and they'd talk about how much fun they had. And I was like, I just played guitar. But now, I've told my mom, hey, I've told her thanks before for keeping me in because that really, helped me learn how to play guitar. Yeah.
Led to today.
Yeah.
And so I know that you were kind of thrown into the scene when you were kind of teching for the Pissing Razors.
It was actually before that.
Okay.
Before I started guitar teching, I was already in bands. I was already in bands from, the age of 13 or 14, playing a lot of backyard shows.
Okay.
Here in El Paso, like the Lower Valley, had a lot of like bonfires and backyard shows. So there was a couple of bands that I played with doing backyard shows. And then another original band that I started. So I didn't really start guitar teching with anyone until I was maybe 19 years old. Yeah, so about 18 or 19. That's when it really started, when I really started seeing a vision, because everything starts with a vision, right? Like you have a dream. It doesn't matter what it is. If you look at your front yard, which I'm looking at right now, and I see this weeping willow that I planted, 3-4 months ago, and I was tired of seeing, it bare, you know what I mean? I envisioned it, right? Just like, same thing. I envisioned myself like touring, like, how am I going to do this? How would I be able to tour? So I ended up going to the show here in El Paso at the County Coliseum, and it was the tour was billed as a Roar tour. And I specifically went to go see Seven Dust. And I was, prior to the show, I was watching, even before they went on, I was watching people pull gear up, and I was checking out gear. Since I'm such a gear nerd, I was like, I wonder what this dude plays, what that guy plays, and cool guitar, So I ended up, this is kind of weird story, but I noticed some of the Seven Dust gear, like the guitars they played, and I saw some dude, like, obviously their guitar tech. So I was like, you know what, man, I need to go to the restroom. So I ended up going to the restroom, and I see this dude. I don't know who he is. I don't know who he was till this day. I don't know, but he gave me the best advice ever. See him in the restroom, right? And I go, hey, you're the guitar tech for Seven Dust. He's like, oh yeah. And I go, hey man, how would I get into like doing what you do, like touring and stuff? And he goes, honestly, man, you just have to find a killer local band and see if you can, a killer local band with potential, and see if you could possibly start working for them. So that's exactly what I did. I started going to shows, and I find this awesome band called The Hate Campaign, right? So end up, meeting a couple of those dudes. One one of the guys I already knew because he went to the same high school that I went to, which was Austin High School, and that's how it started. You know, they took me under their wing, and you know their shows here in town were so killer, and they were such a great band, really good dudes as well, and. You know, they used to pack the house wherever they would play or whoever they would open with. They were just such a good band. So I had the opportunity to guitar tech for them and, you know, do a couple of traveling dates with them. And after that, I started guitar teching for the Razors. And that's what really gave me my start is getting on the road and leaving town for months at a time. And then all of a sudden I ended up in the band playing guitar. So so that was
Funny how that works. Here's
yes.
advice, great advice.
That first tour that I left on where I was guitar teching, that one really stands out to me because around that time, that time, all of my teenage years basically, my dad. Which I loved very much. He was in my life for a very, very, very short time, you know, up until I started high school. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So if you think about it, I mean, yeah, when I think about it, I'm like, wow, man, he was like really in my life for a short amount of time, from when I was like a kid up until high school when I learned that he was sick. And through high school, he got really, really, really sick. So when I left for that tour, it was kind of like it was really like a fork in the road moment because when I left, he was really sick and I was battling with, well, if I leave, I wasn't going to leave. And my mom said, hey, you know what? There's nothing you can do anymore. So just go follow your dreams. So I said, all right, I have my mom's blessing. I took off, which was turned out to be the hardest 2.5 months of my life, but I did it.
And you had
You
the
know,
support of your mom, which I'm sure
oh yeah,
helped a lot
my whole
more.
family, my
That's
whole
awesome.
family. Yeah, you know, you just got to keep moving forward, and that was one of the moments that made me like, you know, the strongest. Because I remember we're doing a show at the House of Blues. Like, wow, you know, I'd never been to a House of Blues. We're doing a show at the House of Blues, and within 10 minutes before the band went on, I got a message from my sister. None of us had cell phones but one person, and they said, hey, your sister called and she said that your dad is probably going to pass within the next couple of days. And we're so poor that I didn't have money to go home. So I was like, man, I just gotta suck it up and just say, hey, you know what? I already said my piece. But the band that we were on tour with, which is a band called Propane, which is a legendary hardcore band, the main dude, Gary Mescal, and another one of the main guys that was in the band that's not in the band anymore. His name was Tom Klimchuk. A day after they learned about that, they knew that I didn't have any money to go home.
Goodness.
And we were at outside of St. Louis. We were at some like motel, and all of us were at a motel. We're staying inside the RV. We didn't even have a room. They had a room. We're outside in the RV. And some of the guys said, hey, Gary and Tom want to talk to you. So I went into their room and they said, hey, we're going to get you a ticket to go back home and see your dad. And so, yeah, so luckily enough, I remember the day. It was clear as day. I flew out of Springfield, Missouri on a propeller plane into Dallas, from Dallas to El Paso. That was on a Monday morning. So, yeah, Monday morning, and my dad passed on Tuesday. And by Friday, the day he was buried, I was on a plane back to Portland to meet the tour again. It was a life-changing experience for me because, you know, it was definitely a lesson learned. You know, it definitely made me the person that I am today, and it gives you the skin that you need to just kind of forge through anything that happens. And it doesn't necessarily have to. It's not necessarily about music. It's basically a life forge through anything in your life. So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Well, fast forward to today, you've obviously have gotten your toes wet in the music industry. Now you're in ministry. Let's talk about that.
Wow. Yeah. So it's been a journey, man. I'm going on my 6th year with the band. The way it happened was actually, you know, it was actually very, very odd, to say the least. So obviously, Al used to live in El Paso for quite a long time, probably about 10 years or maybe over 10 years. Um, I had met him briefly about two times, and I'm talking about quick interactions, probably about a minute each, but I never knew him when he was in town. So that's the first one of the first really odd things about that is that I never knew him when he was here in town, but I had the opportunity to actually audition for the band, and the way that happened was I actually got a call from Sin, and Sin said, "Hey, are you interested in auditioning for the band?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." So you know,
And Sin is the guitarist, correct?
the guitar player, yeah.
Okay.
That was another fork in the road experience because before I even, before I was approached, I was like at a crossroads. I was like, dude, should I just like stop playing and just write music for my home? And I would be happy doing that, you know what I mean? But I was at that point, I felt like the whole touring thing and everything was kind of over for me because yeah, I was going through that moment where you're trying so hard and it's like no one's listening, you know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
finally, it just opportunity came, so I ended up you know I was gonna go out there and listen to a rehearsal, and I got a call like probably about 3 weeks early, and they were like, "Well, can you be here tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I can." So yeah, got dropped off there and started rehearsing, and I rehearsed for 2 weeks. And it was like a rush situation. It was like I ended up rehearsing for 2 weeks with the band, and first show was in Adelaide, Australia, in front of like probably about 50,000 people,
Oh my gosh.
and it was about 112 degrees on stage. Yeah, so it was like it felt like home in the summer. It was like yeah, that's how it started for me. So.
And the fans seem to really, really support you. That's really exciting. Congratulations, Caesar.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, the fans have been really, really cool. Naturally, as humans, a lot of humans just don't like change and stuff like that. But people have been cool, and I have no complaints. And I thank them too. So that's pretty awesome.
So let's have a little ministry talk, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I know you guys have a lot of new material you've been working on. You decided to release the song "Alert Level" a little bit earlier. Can you talk about what led to decision into doing that?
Uh, you know, um, I I think that I think it's a perfect time to actually release that song uh, given the current situation in our world. It's not the greatest, and it's actually when you think about current situation and everything that's going on at once, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad, and like you had mentioned before, if you have a voice, use it. You know what I mean? So I think given the situation, I think it's the perfect time to release something like that. So that's cool.
Can you share with our listeners how fans are being asked to be a part of this project?
Yeah, I mean, just like everyone has a voice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone has the right to be heard. And the question is, how concerned are you? And that's giving fans the opportunity to express their voice and express what they're concerned about. Because when I hear someone speak on one of those videos and say how concerned they are about a certain topic, it really opens my mind up to like, wow, I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? So everyone should have concerns, and everyone should have be able to voice their concerns. So that's a platform that's opened up to give the fans the opportunity to say, hey, this is what I'm concerned about. So that that's only fair.
And how do they do that? Do they take videos and they send it to you guys, or what is the process of that?
Yeah, they take the video and they send it directly to the band, and
And you
the
guys are
band
watching it yourselves.
and the band posts it and watch the band ends up posting it, and yeah, so
So speaking of staying in tune with your fans, let's talk about Riff of the Week. You are now
yeah.
spearheading a new series where you have the Riff of the Week of a ministry song.
Yeah, so the riff of the week started off as an idea, and that was actually sparked, you know, in many different ways to be able to interact with fans. Because what I mean, can you think about how stagnant it would be to not during all this time um, where you know you can't go to any shows whatsoever. It's like to have no interaction with the fans whatsoever. It's like, you know, the fans deserve a little taste of something. So that's pretty cool. But that started, you know, through the month of May. And that started every week through the month of every Monday for Ministry Mondays. There's always something posted on Ministry Mondays. So I had the opportunity to actually do that through the month of May, which was really really fun. I love doing stuff like that because I'm just a nerd. I'm a music nerd, so
You're a music nerd. So
yeah.
let's talk about some setup, some technology talk. Things have definitely changed back in the days until today, where we're able to live stream. How do you feel this has helped you as a musician? You know,
Uh,
the new recording at home and live streams.
Well, recording at home, obviously that's super changed because before I would have like a little recorder, Radio Shack recorder, and I'd hum riffs into it, or I'd play my guitar like I'd make sure it was like next to my amp, and I still do that with the voice memos on my phone. I
Oh yeah.
record my riffs or me humming a riff while I'm driving, or a drum beat or whatever, just so I don't forget it, and then that helps me too because I just turn around and I come back home and I open up a session on Pro Tools and I start recording it. So I mean, that's definitely changed, especially with like, excuse me, new features on Pro Tools where you're able to start sessions on a cloud and you're able to work on the actual session with someone, you know, on the other side of the world. That's pretty amazing. I believe, you know, everyone wants to go into a world class studio, but sometimes budgets aren't there where you can't do that, where you could, you know, spend a whole month at, you know, an extravagant place. It's, you know, times change and a lot of things are done at home. I have my zone, I have my Zen zone here at home. I have a home studio where I, you know, out of the comfort and vibe of my own home, I'm able to just record whatever I want and send it off, and you know, there it is.
Definitely. I still, you know, I still believe in the studio sometimes, you know,
Yeah,
you still have those extra connections too. And, you know, so shout out to all the people still holding it down with their studios today.
yeah, and I, you know, any given opportunity, I'd love to be in a world class studio recording some stuff too. You know what I mean? But
Always, yeah, over
yeah,
anything, you know. And one thing I really liked about it's funny because I've known you for quite a bit. I want to say like over 10 years now, right?
yeah, probably about 15 or 16 years.
Yeah,
To
it's
tell you
been
the truth.
quite a road. Caesar and I worked at a music store together back in the day, and we've just known each other through the music scene in El Paso. But something I really appreciate about you is how you're really into your setups and how you're really diligent about how clean your setup is, and you really believe in in that process in creating the perfect, you know, I'm holding up my keyboard, but like your pedal board and that whole process. Do you have any advice you can offer to people who are trying to get recognized by big touring bands or anything like that? I mean, is it about simplicity? Is it about the most pedals you can have, or you know, or
No,
is it the gear? What do you think?
it's about being yourself. You know what I mean? It's about being yourself and not falling into any molds. You know what I mean? And do it for the love. And I've always held on to one saying that I really believe is, you know, you sacrifice everything, but don't expect anything in return. Because when you expect things in return and things don't happen, that's when you're like, oh, bummed out and stuff like that. So, you know, how do you cut that out is don't expect anything. Just do it for the love of it and give your everything to what you believe and just be yourself,
Go get
really.
it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
Just be
out there and
yourself.
freaking get it, man.
Yeah.
So, future music, do we have anything to look forward to, whether it's from you? I know you have a solo project or ministry.
Yeah. New ministries in the works, with Alert Level being the first song that was released. So that's going to be pretty awesome. That's going to be really awesome, actually. And And just my solo stuff, it started off as just doing it for myself because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to whether I release it or not. It makes me feel good just to listen to the songs because I'm able to capture a moment or capture a different side musically that I never thought I'd touch on. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's time for some fun one-off questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, Caesar, taco cat or burrito?
You know what? Probably definitely tacos.
Awesome.
Tacos. Southern California tacos
So Southern California, taco cat.
specifically. Yeah.
Okay.
Rigos.
Rico. Oh, that's a
Rigos.
good one.
Yeah, Rigos on Van Owen in North Hollywood.
There you go, guys. If you're in
Yeah.
Hollywood, check out
Yeah.
Rigo's. Free promotion there. Spell diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis, Diverticulitis.
Oh my gosh, you're the first person to get that correct.
Did I really?
Congratulations.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
What would be on the gag reel of your life, like the moment where people would burst into laughter?
The gag reel of my life, me walking.
just a lot of videos of you walking. Why is that?
Yeah, my kids know how to make fun of the way I walk, and I'm like, I don't walk like that. And then I watch video. I'm like, I noticed that I kind of walk kind of Sasquatchish, Sasquatchish.
You should move to Seattle.
That's a word, Sasquatchish,
It's a new word.
Sasquatchish. Yeah,
Okay, so if someone narrated your life, who would that be?
it would be Keanu Reeves, but like Bill and Ted Keanu Reeves.
I love Bill and Ted. I think that's hands down till today. That's still the best Keanu Reeves. I think that's out there because he's still the same in every single.
Yeah,
He does. He's always Bill and Ted to me. Like even in Matrix, and he's still Bill and Ted, right?
Me too. Yeah. But it would be that dude narrating my life. That would be awesome.
So speaking of which, what movie can you watch over and over and over again?
There's actually a couple of them.
Okay.
Stand By Me,
That's a good one.
Roadhouse, with Patrick
Of
Swayze.
course.
Oh, what else? Ghost.
Oh, that's a good. I think you just like Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. He is awesome. I know my wife loves Patrick Swayze.
All the
She
wives
loves that
love
dude.
Patrick Swayze. Okay, if you were a Street Fighter, what would your theme song be?
Oh, this is a tough one, but I would have to say it would be South of Heaven by Slayer.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
good. That'd get you in the
That's
mood to
just
kick
like-
some butt, right?
That's just it's just like scary walking in. It's like
Hell
dude's
yeah.
wicked.
Well, last but not least, who would play you in the movie of your life?
Who would play me? Does it have to be an actor that's
It could be anyone. It could even be just an actor or actress that embodies who Caesar is.
here in Seattle? So I always get, dude, you look like a Kim Thale from Soundgarden.
Oh my gosh.
If I can tell you this quick story, right?
Yes, please do.
We're playing in Montreal, right? We play in Montreal, and there's a bar that's like 3 doors down. It was called the Electric something, I don't know. But a few doors down from this theater, this like theater that we played at, right? So we end up going to the bar, having a couple of drinks, and this couple comes up to me, and they go, "Hey." The wife goes, "You know who you remind me of?" And I was already like, I know exactly what you're gonna say. And she goes, "Kim Thale from Soundgarden." And I go, "Well, you know why, right?" And she was like, "Well, why?" I go, "That's my dad." And they're like, "No." And I kept a straight face. And I can do that joking around. And I was like, "That is my dad." And so, she went off and she got like 2 or 3 of their friends. They came back, "You know who his dad is? Oh, that's why you look so familiar." Oh, and then so it was like bus call. So I believe our tour manager came and it was like, "Hey, it's bus call, time to go." Took off, and my intention was to tell them that I was joking, and I never told them that I was joking. So I left them thinking that that's my dad. So there's people,
So till this day, they're still.
Kim, if you're watching, a couple of people in Canada think you're my dad. That'd be good.
Well, let's go ahead and cut to that performance.
How concerned are started to understand your betrayal. We will not let you get away with this.
The time for decision is made to end.
Again, I just want to say thank you so much to Cesar Soto. I'm sure your fans are excited to check out this upcoming album and to check out your live streams. Do you have anything else you wanted to share with us?
No, I just want to say thank you to everyone at Mackie. Thank you, Jamie, for having me on Ins and Outs. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Cesar. Once again, I'm Jamie Hernandez, and this is the Ins and Outs with Mackie, a show about awesome gear and awesome people. We'll be bringing you musicians, engineers, podcasters, streamers, and sometimes the occasional Mackoid. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for upcoming episodes.